after the 10 o'clock hour. We are here at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers at in the Assembly Hall, and we are calling our meeting to order. Today is September the 24th, 2024. We are progressing. It's fall, y'all. It's fall. Absolutely. How about a round of applause for fall? Absolutely. I just wanted to say for all the people that's been outside all spring and summer long, it's time to kind of pull it in a little bit. You be outside, but you might want to be around the fire pit a little bit as you move through the fall season. Fall is a great time of the year.
It was cool enough this morning that I could walk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, we have our good friend here, Mr. Pastor, there he is. Hey, Pastor Tim Hall. Absolutely, from the Father's house. Come on up, Pastor, and lead us in invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Always good to have Pastor Hawk. Hadn't seen you in a while. Absolutely.
It has been a while.
Yes, sir.
I've been involved in a chaplain certification program, and that's been a bunch of hours. So
all right. Well,
I'm glad to be
congratulations
back in life
you.
a little bit.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a privilege to be here, and let me say good morning to all of you. I will say the opposite. I'm looking forward to fall so I can get out. It's been too hot. It's been too hot some days for me to be out there.
Okay.
If you would, everyone, would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we honor you today. We thank you for your grace toward us as a community, toward us as a culture. Lord, I ask you that you will grant our commissioners wisdom today, wisdom to lead with clarity, as well as patience to listen with open hearts as they meet today. I thank you, Lord, that you have courage and grace as they make decisions about our community and about Rockdale County. And Father, we do ask for humility to acknowledge when change is needed, as well as help to foster unity in this community. We thank you, Lord, for Rockdale County and for this East Metro region. I pray for your guidance as we move toward justice, fairness, and progress in this community. And Lord, it's in your grace that we seek that this be a safe place to live, a safe place to work, a safe place to play, and that it also be a place of serenity, wisdom, and strength. Father, I ask you that you will guide our commissioners as they lead this community with integrity and with compassion. And it's in the name of your Son that we ask it. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a pretty robust agenda this morning, but just before I get into the next item on our agenda, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the presence of our Chair-elect and our Commissioner-elect, Chair-elect Van Ness and Commissioner-elect Smith. Stand up and let's give them a round of applause. Absolutely. We are excited about your bravery, for number one, and your commitment to service, and we look forward to passing the baton in January and moving our county progressively forward here in Rockdale County. As I said it earlier, back in June, we want to encourage all of our residents and all of our citizens, all of our employees to support the new direction and the new vision as Rockdale County continues to move forward. I'm still a resident of Rockdale County. I'm excited. In fact, Executive Director Holmes, I'm super excited about the future and what God has in store for Rockdale County. And I think it's important that if you are genuinely interested in the progress of your community, that you have an optimistic attitude about moving forward. Let's give our new board coming in January another round of applause. Absolutely. I've said it, I think it's my life motto, Chair-elect Van Ness, that attitude is everything. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Listen, we're going to move now to item number 3, special recognitions and presentations. We've got a list of them, and I think Executive Director Holmes from our Talent Management Department is going to lead that charge this morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Madam
morning.
Commissioners. Yes, we are super excited. So today, once again, we get to acknowledge and celebrate the employees of Rockdale County. This year in particular, I would like to take a moment and recognize the 11 individuals that were nominated as Employee of the Year candidates for Rockdale County. So approximately 1,000 employees, 11 of them were nominated. They're all here today. I am going to call them up, but if we can give them a round of applause right now, just acknowledging and celebrating. And if you didn't know, they all have on matching shirts.
Yes,
So,
they look good too.
yes.
They look good.
So Deputy Finn is here as well. He's one of our nominees, but of course he's in uniform, but he is definitely part of that group as well. So we're going to call them all up. We do understand that Deputy Finn has to leave a little bit earlier. We appreciate you taking your time out this morning. We're going to call them all up. We want to get a photograph. Definitely allow the chairman and the commissioners to make some comments. We're going to, and I do want you to, is it possible for me to push this back?
There's a Executive Director Barkley, would you assist with that, or you,
No.
Director? I just know
No,
that there's a
that's
cord
fine.
there. Just want to make sure
I
you
got
don't
it, I got it.
disconnect our services.
Okay, I got it. Only because I do want him to stand in front of the podium for the photo,
right.
Chairman, Madam Commissioner. So the first person I'm gonna call up is Deputy Finn from our Sheriff's Office, and if he can come on up, one of our nominees. Miss Carolyn Blackshear from Planning and Development, if Miss Carolyn can come on up
All right,
from
Miss
Planning and
Carolyn.
Development. Reginald Cannon from Parks and Recreation, come on
Reginald.
up. Chairman, Madam Commissioners, Kimberly Kelly was one of our nominees as well. She's from RDOT, but she is actually in training. So we definitely are excited that we're able to have her participate. But
Let's
she's
give Kimberly Kelly a round of
RDOT.
applause.
Ecoria Walker from Talent Management, our
Yes.
Wellness Benefits Administrator. Mr. Calvin Cody from Water Resources.
Calvin Cody.
Trelana Carter, Technology Services.
Miss Carter. She's in charge of Tech Talk. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Tech Talk.
Siobhan White from our Board of Assessors.
Another rock star. Miss White.
Miss Megan Porch from Fire and Rescue.
Megan.
Matthew Joyner from General Services.
Matthew is Mr. Get It Done. That's Mr. Get It Done.
And then, Chairman, Mr. Michael Webb from
Mike
Stormwater.
Webb.
So, Chairman, and let me tell you what's so special about this group of individuals. Again, out of 1,100, almost approximately 1,000 employees, 11 of them, so I'm going to go ahead and say top 10% of their class, they're here this morning with us. The department heads were asked to nominate an outstanding employee for the nominee. So they're standing here before you this morning. The employees were then invited to a special breakfast, so I'm going to say cohort style, where they had an opportunity to share with their colleagues and their peers why they felt like they deserved to be not only sitting in that seat, but also the possibility of being nominated for the Employee of the Year. Afterwards, this individual group nominated on your Employee of the Year.
Wow.
So I'm going to share that with you. They nominated on your first runner-up, your second runner-up, as well as the Employee of the Year.
So let me make sure I'm tracking and I've got this clear. So
Okay.
of this group that's standing before us, minus one person, they decided who, among themselves, they decided who the Employee of the Year would be.
Yes, so
Wow.
you're
Wow.
voting on your competition, if
Okay,
you will,
all
Mr.
right.
Chairman. So, and what a powerful statement to say that. So
Yes.
again, they were nominated by the department heads who supported that, signed off on it, and then they came together and decided who that process will be. So again, I want to thank and congratulate all of them for being nominated again for this year's 2024 Employee of the Year. I will go ahead at this time and announce who the first runner-up was, the second runner-up, then the first runner-up, and then we'll talk about our actual nominees selected by the group in front of you. The second runner-up this year that was nominated for the Employee of the Year, and she's not here, but that's Miss Kimberly Kelly from RDOT, so she was the second runner-up. And then our first runner-up, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners, she is here. You just said she was over Tech Talk, and that is Ms. Trelana Carter.
Yes.
And this year, Chairman, our Employee of the Year, this was a whole celebration. We did this, and not only was he celebrated by his department, but celebrated by his colleagues and peers. That's Mr. Calvin Cody from
Calvin
Rockdale Water
Cody.
Resources. Chairman, and we do have a plaque that we're going to be, he can't keep it today, but we do
Okay.
want to show it to him so he can take, this plaque is actually going to be posted in the BOC.
Oh,
So
right,
we do
yes.
post that prominently so everyone can see it, but I
Yes.
do want you to see it so you can see what the rest of the world is going to see. Mr. Cody, at this time, I am going to allow you to make some comments, and then Chairman, Madam Commissioners, and then we have a video. Just brief comments, brief.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just want to thank everybody for electing me. Thanking the Rockdale Water Resource Team for choosing me. We like family, so I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you guys. Y'all don't even know me. Y'all chose me, so I appreciate everything. Thank Rockdale County.
Thank you. Chairman, if we can show that video, and then we'll
Yes.
definitely go to comments. So we have a video
Okay.
about Mr. Calvin Cody. So I also do want to get us to do a photograph, so if we can kind of stand in a way where we're in front of,
Okay.
come around, Calvin in the front here. I'm doing it like I'm, turn around this way. Yes, this way. Yes. Okay. Again, congratulations. Just a real recap: Public Safety, Sheriff's Office, Planning Development, Parks and Rec, RDOT, Talent Management, Water Resources, Technology Services, Board of Assessors, Fire and Rescue, General Services, and Stormwater. Great representation from the county employees, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
So let's give all of our nominees and our winner another round of applause. Commissioners, it says so much about who we are as an organization to have so many nominees from various departments that represent all of Rockdale County. And then it says even that much more that when you are elected by a group of your peers to serve as the top winner of the Employee of the Year, it's a selfless act because everyone has been nominated, and now it's almost like an internal competition. But you not saw it robbery to decide among yourselves who would be basically the winner and the recipient as the employee of the. Listen, commissioners in over 15 county departments and multiple divisions that we have to operate this local government. I talk about it all the time. No one, absolutely no one gets anything done by themselves. The very talented people that we have in every department, this community, this county just cannot function. It can't operate without the work and the talent of all of our employees that represent the citizens of Rockdale County. We're very proud. I believe that Rockdale is the absolute best county in the state of Georgia. I really believe that. And we, without question, have the best set of employees that represent any county throughout the state of Georgia. I'm going to yield because I'm always excited about the talented people that we have here in Rockdale County. But I'm going to yield and start with Commissioner Washington, and then we'll hear from Commissioner Williams.
First of all, congratulations again, Mr. Cody, and all of the nominees. But when I met Mr. Cody, when we announced the Employee of the Year, and he told me that he was the one responsible for doing the meter readings and making sure those were accurate, I told him, "You the winner. Like whether you won or not, you the winner." But I had the opportunity to meet his mother. And there was no one prouder. You would have thought that he won the President of the United States. She was that proud of him. Yeah. And that speaks volumes on why he's here. Anytime that your mother is still pouring into you, still advocating for you, believing in you. She told me how he loves his job. She says he gets up every day wanting to come to work, wanting to do the best he can, wanting to do the best he can for Rockdale County citizens, and that speaks volumes that your mother is telling people how much you love your job. So once again, congratulations, and thank you to all of the nominees and all of the employees of Rockdale County, because they do an amazing job and they deserve the best of everything. And we here, I know this board has tried our best to make sure that they have everything that they can do to serve the citizens of Rockdale County in an exemplary manner, and that speaks volumes to why you got the title that you had for this year.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
So again, congratulations to all of the nominees. I think it's such an honor, and it was such a nice group of people who obviously work hard and exemplify the best of Rockdale County. And like Commissioner Washington, Cody's mother was ecstatic and there was no hesitation in her sharing that he was her son, and she was proud of him. So again, we do have outstanding employees in Rockdale County, and we appreciate the work of all of them, and we appreciate the work of the directors in nominating. That is not an easy task right there. And so we appreciate that, and then we appreciate those who were nominated, and we congratulate again Cody. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to echo the sentiments a little bit of both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. Many may not know, but Cody is a part of one of Rockdale County's most historical families, the Banks family from the Southern District of Rockdale County. I had the pleasure this year, I think this was perhaps my third time to present a proclamation. The Banks family has been a part of Rockdale County, dated all the way back to the 1800s. And they own a good portion of land past the 212, 138 area, just south of 212 on 138 on the left-hand side. I call it the Banks compound. But let me tell you, when they have a family reunion, baby, they have a family reunion. I mean, my goodness. I mean, people from all over the place show up. I'm not surprised that his mom, and I think, that speaks volumes for any parent, particularly a mom. You never stop being proud of your babies. But to hear that his mom was ecstatic and super excited about his achievements and his accomplishments, sometimes we can look over or take the small things for granted. We have an entire crew of meter readers and meter reader technicians that work for RWR customer service. But for some reason, it seems like Cody is all over Rockdale County, and it's almost like he's the only meter reader in the county. So you can't read all the meters in the county, but we certainly do appreciate his fine work. And again, all of our employees who were nominated and highlighted as an employee of the year. And each of them really are, because in their own right, in their own way, they represent each one of their departments and their divisions. Let's give them all another round of applause. We can go on and on, but I think we took care of it, and we're going to move on to our next item on our agenda, and that still falls under the direction of Executive Director Holmes and Talent Management.
Yes, Chairman, Madam Commissioner. Yep, I decided to just stay here, but thank you again, acknowledging the employees. This next part is what we do on an annual basis. It's our benefits renewal. We do have our broker here from Epic Brokerage Firm, and I also want to bring up Deputy Director Mallory Thompson, who oversees benefits for Rockdale County.
Good morning, Madam Commissioners and Chairman. So this morning we'll be going over the open enrollment timeline for 2024 as well as the benefit renewals. And I want to welcome Mr. James Ford to do the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Ford.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you all, and thank you all for having me again this year. We can advance to the next slide. In terms of our renewals for 2025, it's mostly good news, commissioners, which is great. We serve several counties around you, and it hasn't been as good a news as we has liked. But for you all, it's been a great year in terms of claims performance. We'll start off with Kaiser. They originally presented a 14.3% renewal, but once we analyzed that renewal, we got that back down to 0% for Rockdale County. Now, the current enrollment hasn't changed much. There's 151 employees, and then the 258 number are the number of employees and their dependents. If you can recall, last year we went up to 7.82% increase, and so this year there will be no impact to the budget or the rates for the employees for Kaiser.
Very good.
We can move to the next slide. Anthem, very similar. If you recall, stop loss is what we pay for catastrophic claims, high-cost claimants. It was a challenging renewal last year, but this year that increases to 9%. There's no change to your admin fee, which is the monthly subscription fee that you pay every month. And the claims projection is about 9.574, which is about where you are this year. Not much impact to budget. And I also want to note that on a national level, we engage with some contract negotiations. As you all know, pharmacy is a very challenging benefit to manage cost-wise. And so the Epic team now has a national arrangement with Anthem RX as well, so you got some savings there. The enrollment in that plan is about 619 employees, and then 1,230 factoring in dependents. And so that projected impact to rates and budget is 0 as well. Next slide. And these are additional renewals. Last year we had an increase on vision. It remains the same, so there's no cost impact. There is a change to dental. There was an uptick in experience this year, or the people that use those services, and that's going up 16%. We did negotiate it down, and we'll talk about what the overall cost impact of $81,000 looks like. And then Unum, of course, are your disability, county paid life programs. There's an increase there as well due to an increased utilization, and that annual impact to budget is about $42,000. Next slide. So when we look at the dental employee rates, this shows the increase or the impact to the employee rates based on the current cost share, so how much the employee pays versus how much the county pays. And you'll note the increase to the employee rates for 2025. Next slide. And this is the overall cost impact. Our actuaries actually took us down a little bit for your budget impact due to the RX savings. There's no impact to your vision or Kaiser, and notice the increase to Unum. And then Delta Dental has an overall impact to $81,000 to the budget, but the employee pays about $48,000 of those monies or employee contributions. So total annual increase to your plan budget for medical costs is about $100,000. Next slide. Medicare Advantage renewal, it is the one challenging renewal we have because there's not a lot that can be done to change it. In August of 22, the president signed the debt inflation bill, the inflation debt bill, actually, August of 22. And one piece of that bill, inflation reduction bill, one change to that bill was to change the methodology of which Medicare reimburses carriers for Medicare services. So there are some reductions that the retirees see in terms of drugs and out-of-pocket costs, but that comes with an increase impact to their premium. And so for 2025, that premium goes from $210.49 on a monthly basis to $263.49 for the 188 retirees in the plan. And the next slide, just a high-level time window of where we're going. We'll start with our benefits presentations next week and immediately jump into open enrollment for the actives. And then, of course, we bring the retirees in as well and spend some time in what we call educational meetings for the pre-65 and post-65 retirees on November 5th. And then their enrollment period will run from the 4th through the 15th. Any questions this morning?
Commissioner Washington, any questions for Mr. Ford or Deputy Director Mallory Thompson?
Sure. Can we go back to the retirees slide?
Yes, one slide back.
Okay, so to be clear for the people that are watching this from home,
Yes,
the retirees benefits go from 210 to 263, but there's really not much we can do to offset that impact.
correct. So the cost monthly is $263. Different retirees, based on when they retire, pay a different portion of that. And then secondly, that cost is driven by a federal change to Medicare reimbursement, which is what we can't negotiate, unfortunately.
And that's out of pocket for the retirees.
That will it will impact them out of pocket, yes, for their premium, correct.
Okay. And can we go back to the Delta dinner?
We sure
also?
can. One more slide.
Okay, so the employees are looking at anywhere from about $1.10 increase to, what's that, about $5 if you're employee and family per month.
Correct.
Is the county looking to offset any of that?
Well, that's split with the current cost share. So we're taking the $81,000 and the county's paying some of it, and then the employees paying some of it.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams, any comments or questions?
Well, I just want to point out for those who are not aware, with the retirees on that Advantage plan, they are still paying the Medicare premium, which is something just under $200 now.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're getting some big reduction. We talked about next year looking at different levels of payment for the Advantage plans. And so I want to keep that forefront, that we can do that and look at the different levels.
Absolutely. Tiered plans similar to the Anthem
Yeah,
plans where you
tier
have
is
a
the
couple
word.
of options. Yes, ma'am. Noted.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ford, but before you leave, I want to ask Deputy Director Mallory Thompson, and I'm bringing her to the podium because she is the voice and the face of our benefits here in Rockdale County. Everyone knows that when it comes to benefit, in particular, we talked a lot about our retirees. Deputy Director Mallory Thompson is the one that engages with our retirees as well as with all of our employees when it comes to benefits and explaining. I do want you to talk to us a little bit about this upcoming open enrollment season and some of the things that we can expect coming out of your world of expertise.
So currently, we have been sending out notifications to our employees about the open enrollment process that will be taking place shortly, starting October 1st through the 25th. And then we will be sending out notices to our retirees as well, notifying them of the open enrollment for them so that they can come in and do those meetings, which we'll have our Retiree First, which is a organization that comes in to handheld them and walk them through the process, as some of them may be transitioning from our Anthem plan to the Aetna plan, and they'll be able to give them more information. So those meetings are very important for them to ask and get answers for those questions.
Are those meetings done by Zoom also?
No, it'll be in person. It'll be at JP Carr.
I'm thinking about, I would imagine we have some retirees.
We record as well.
You do record, okay. That
Yes.
was my concern.
You see why she's in charge of benefits? Absolutely. Because we recognize, and I appreciate the commissioner saying that, we may have some retirees who are challenged physically or for whatever reason they
Or
can't.
they've moved out of the area.
Right.
Or they're
and
moved
they
out of the
have.
area and they can't physically be present at JP Carr. So we do have another medium and an outlet to afford them an opportunity to pick up the information.
Yes.
But I really like what she said about the handheld process, to make sure that we walk them through the process. Oftentimes when you're no longer engaged in the workforce, you may not pick up the information quite like someone who's on the campus on a day-to-day basis. So having that personal touch, giving them that walk-through experience makes a big difference. I will also, again, highlight one of the things that Deputy Director Mallory Thompson is so responsible for each year, Commissioners. When it's time for open enrollment, they really launch an aggressive campaign so that no one falls in the cracks or they're after the fact when open enrollment is complete. We want to make sure that we launch a long campaign to all of our employees. All of our employees have access to email. But the guy or girl that's out there riding a lawnmower, cutting the park, or working out in the field, they may not check their email quite as often as the person sitting in the office or sitting at a cubicle at a desk. So we've asked all of our directors and deputy directors to make certain that all of those employees in every department, every division are keenly aware of open enrollment. And I'll tell you, Deputy Director Mallory Thompson does. She is, when we hear the words benefits, her lovely face comes to our mind. She does a fantastic job. Give
And
her
I
another
can't take
round
all the
of
credit.
applause.
We have Victoria
Absolutely.
Walker.
With the open enrollment, I know 1 year everybody had to be involved whether or not there were changes. Is this year?
This is passive. So this
Passive.
year, they do not have to go in unless they have an HSA, a health savings account. They have to re-elect an amount, or a FSA, they have to elect a new amount for 2025.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're blessed to have you.
you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Mr. Ford, thank you this morning. All right, next up on our special recognitions and presentations, Commissioners, is an update from the Comprehensive Program Services. Ms. Megan is coming up for the Judicial Administrative Complex update. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
All right. Let's give a second for the presentation to come up. There it is. Well, Chairman, Commissioners, thank you so much for having me today. Megan Kichikowski, as you mentioned, with CPS. Here to give a quarterly update on the Judicial and Administrative Complex. It's a really exciting day for all of us, and I'll get into why in just a second. We made a lot of progress since last we met and chatted, so we'll jump right in. Next slide, please.
And Megan, I'm going to ask if you would pull that
Yep.
mic to you. And
How's that? Is that a little
We
better?
got people watching and listening.
Well, we want to make sure they catch it all.
Absolutely.
There we go. Is that a little better?
That's a lot
Okay,
better.
perfect. I'm a little short, so I got to lean in. So just a quick reminder, please visit our website, reimaginerockdale.com. That was set up jointly by the county and the CPS team. It's a really great forum to ask questions and get information on things you might be interested in on the project, and we also have some commonly asked questions that are already answered on that website. Next slide. So quick update on design. We have actually completed phase 1 design, and that's for, again, the admin building and the courthouse. And we are nearing completion on phase 2 design, which includes the parking deck, the renovation, the plaza, and Milstead Avenue work. We have made finish selections. Those have been finalized. And I have to say, Rockdale County did a great job of really picking selections that are going to stand the test of time, very durable, and very thoughtful, and things that are not just, short-lived fad interiors. We're also working on our permits and working through getting our land disturbance permit, which will allow us to start that groundbreaking work, and then approval by the fire marshal. Next slide, please. So this is really the bid update is the bulk of the update where the team is really spending a lot of our time at present. So again, just a quick reminder of what this process is. We competitively, Rockdale County competitively selected the construction manager at risk, and then they were tasked with, as the design met certain milestones of phases, they have been competitively bidding out scopes of work and individual packages for the overall project competitively to the trade contractor, subcontractor level. So just that's kind of to orient us. So the component guaranteed maximum price, which is again a component package of the overall project, the first one has already been approved, and that was for long lead equipment, the switchgear. So today on the agenda is component guaranteed maximum price package number 2, which is for, generally speaking, the site work and structure. But that's also important because that's the package that will allow us to release construction to start, pending the permits and, of course, approval by the Board of Commissioners. The third package is currently being worked on, and that's for the full scope of work for Phase 1, which again is the admin building and the courthouse. That's being prepared now, but I do want to give a quick update on that. I am pleased to say that we are tracking to be in budget on that package.
Very good.
We are also, even more exciting, I think, tracking to meet our local and our EBO goals for the project that were selected.
Big
And
deal.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's give that a round of applause. I mean, that's a really big deal. Absolutely. Let me just jump in real quick. And that's such a big deal because we heard so much from our local citizenry about local participation and making sure that from a DEI standpoint and a very equitable operation standpoint, particularly with this project, that we afford as many of our local folks an opportunity who qualify, who make the prerequisites, an opportunity to sit at the table and actually actively bid in the process. And as I say that, I always have to remind folks, this is the very first time that Rockdale County has had a project of this magnitude that folk could really participate in. But just to know that we've made sure that we've said to all of our local tradesmen and folks that are in business out there, this is an opportunity for you to be involved in this local project here in Rockdale County. And it's not over yet, but this is an update. I just want to say that's good news to know that we've been able to reach out to folks in our own backyard.
Absolutely, and we appreciate the clear message that has come from the Board of Commissioners and from the staff on what those goals are. And it's important really to note, we continue to reiterate with the team that those are minimum goals. So we're aiming not only at meeting those goals, but also exceeding them where possible and where feasible to do so. And I have to say that the team has been doing an outstanding job in making sure that they are conducting that outreach, and we're really seeing the results as we're going through these packages now.
Do we have quantitative numbers on how many local and EBO?
Well, because we haven't gotten to an overall release of the entire project, I don't have what those overall percentages are. But what I can tell you is, so again, with this process, as we selected the construction manager at risk, which I do want to say they have met those goals themselves within their team, as they are going through and as this contract gets awarded to them, they now are going to go subcontract with those subcontractors, which is why those goals are not set right now, is that they will not be able to contract with those subcontractors until they get that award from Rockdale County for that package.
I think that's a super valid question coming from Commissioner Washington. Ms. Stacy Bonner-Lewis, who is our EBO officer for Rockdale County, she just brought that piece up just a couple of weeks ago in the parking lot of the BOC. The role that she's in, she's not been in that role quite a full year yet.
Sure.
And we talked about benchmarks and measurements and how to quantify what we're doing in terms of our civic engagement with not just this project, but all of those projects. And she said to me, about a year and a half from the date of EBO coming into play, they will have some benchmarks and measurements and numbers to be able to track at least what the past year has taught us, shown us in terms of people with engagement, not only this project alone, Commissioner Washington, but all of the other projects and opportunities for small business people and entrepreneurs throughout Rockdale County to be fully engaged. I'm glad to hear your response to her question that you're tracking those numbers and that we will have a tabulation in a reasonable amount of time.
And I'll give an example. So some specific subcontractors that may be interested in doing the work might not be able to provide a bond for the entire package that, for their scope of work. And so the construction management team is working diligently to pair them with other contractors. And so that's why those numbers are a little fluid right now. But the goals, and I'm going to look at my team, my stellar team that I'm surrounded by to make sure I've got this right, but 10% for local participation and 25% for EBO. And I'm seeing a nod. I'm sorry? 20% for EBO. So those are, again, numbers that we are tracking that we are going to exceed. And so as we continue to give our quarterly updates and those subcontracts actually get issued, we'll have updates on firmer numbers as we go.
And if I can just add on the goals, so the 20% is higher than the goal that was established by the EBO policy.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So we set a higher goal for this contract of 20%.
Chief, I appreciate you adding that too, because that's something we don't want to glaze over the fact that that 20% is much greater than what was set forth in the policy.
Yeah. And again,
Very good.
the team is trying to exceed that as much as possible. Again, we're feasible to do so.
As we continue to put emphasis on the whole DEI space, EBO, and all of what we're doing, particularly with this project, let me go ahead and say this again. For every tradesman, for every skill and task, every component, every piece of carpet, paint, furniture for this project, all of those skill sets aren't in Rockdale County. We're reaching out to our own backyard. We're wanting as many of those folks who are here to take advantage of submitting and being part of this process. But we understand that not all of those are going to be able to come from Rockdale County. So I wanted to make sure we said that we've been doing an aggressive job, should I say, a very aggressive campaign to really say to as many folks who are here in Rockdale, please sir, please ma'am, take advantage of participating in this project. But what we also recognize and realize, not every component as we go toward the process and then later to the completion of this project will be found in Rockdale County. Just want to make sure I put that out there, because we're going to see some contracts or some talent or tradesmen from other areas who are not in Rockdale, and the project has to go on, so everything is not here. So just want to make sure I put that out there. Clearly, we want participation, but we can't find it all in Rockdale.
Stellar point. Thank you. And then the last package is the full project guaranteed maximum price that includes phase 2, and that is still on schedule to be approved in December as previously planned. All right, next slide, please. All right, in terms of the construction schedule, we'll start work again following CGMP2 component guaranteed maximum price package number 2 approval, as well as receipt of those permits that we talked about. The county has already demolished the tax assessor building, and then site work will start as a campus-wide approach for the entire campus of site work that needs to take place. The administrative building construction will start first, and then the courthouse will shortly follow. The administration building, as you can see, will actually complete a little bit earlier than the courthouse in Q2 of 2026. The courthouse will take a little bit longer just due to the complexities that come with that type of building, meaning the mechanical systems, the acoustics, and the finishes that all go along with a courthouse. And then again, the overall program is set to be completed in Q1 of 2027.
Very good.
All right, next slide, please. So a little bit on site logistics. This is the phase 1 site logistics. So we all know that progress does not come without a little bit of discomfort. However, this team is really working to mitigate, coordinate, and communicate. So mitigate where it's possible to do so with impacts, coordinate where that's not possible, and then communicate either way so that everybody in the surrounding area really knows what those impacts are and what needs to be done. So this is just a snapshot of the plan that's being distributed throughout the community, and it's also available on reimaginerockdale.com.
So I want to park the car there just for
Please.
a second, particularly on that last 3 key point you gave. You talked about mitigate, coordinate, but then communicate. I want to talk about the communicate piece. No pain, no gain.
That's right.
So as she stated, there is going to be some uncomfort, some discomfort. Some folks are going to have to walk a little bit, okay? You may have to park somewhere different, okay? You're going to walk on a rainy day. You're going to walk on a cold day. You're going to walk on a hot day. We're going to have signs all over the place that says, with a smile, pardon our progress. There's no need of inundating the commissioners. There's no need of calling the BOC office. moaning, groaning, and complaining. In order for us to get to the place of progress, there's going to be some discomfort. Someone's going to be taken out of their space for a moment. You may not be able to park in your beautiful assigned parking space like you're used to. You may have to walk a little bit. And I'm a big fan of walking. I don't have one of those watches that monitor my steps, but I can look in the mirror and see the difference. So it won't hurt me to walk a little bit. I'm a Southerner. So I want to encourage everybody to be patient and, again, pardon our progress as we move toward making progress for the overall community. I wanted to really put a little emphasis on that because even some of the folks who will benefit, watch what I'm saying, even the people who are going to benefit from this new construction, these new facilities, and all of this new campus that we're creating, some of those folks they forget a little bit, and they forget that, hey, this is part of the process. So I wanted to make sure, in particular for all those folks who are listening, please, ma'am, please, sir, with your title, we need you to pardon the progress, okay? So said Chairman Nesbitt.
Thank you. And I'll also say the only constant is change. And so this is our site one or our phase one site logistics, but there will be change as we move into phase two. And so again, please consult the website reimaginerockdale.com so that you can get those updates as they come. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the last thing we're going to kind of touch on here is renderings of the design. So what you see here in these four renderings is at the end will very much look like these that you see here. So I'll give a brief pause just to allow everybody to digest those. But again, now that the design is complete on phase one and nearing completion on phase two, this is what the end product will look like. All right. Thank you. Next slide, please. And I want to finish by expressing gratitude for the outstanding leadership that we've received from Chief Sanders, Director Hammer, and Mr. Robinson. So at this time, that's it for the update, and I'll open up for questions.
All right, we'll yield to Commissioner Washington. Any questions or comments, Commissioner?
I asked mine as we were moving through.
Okay.
But thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
So last night I was driving my husband around, and I was trying to explain to him that Milstead's going up and over, and there'll be a walkthrough. What I'm interested in is where that rise starts and falls, and then also, while that's under construction, what will be the route?
Yep. So I'm going to invite Sean and Rob up to help with those questions. We've taken a lot of care with Milstead to make sure that we've got speed humps and some other things to help mitigate that traffic and slow down. But
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
so where is it going to
Okay, where does this rise start, and then where does it fall?
Okay, so the rise is going.
Ron, come on up, because let me tell you, there's people listening and watching. They wanted that question, and they need that answer. So speak into the mic.
Perfect. So right at the corner of Main Street and Milstead, that is the rise. So the current elevation will stay the same. It will decrease once you get halfway to the BOC office, and that's where it's going to decrease.
Okay, what's decreasing?
Coming back down.
Oh, okay. Okay,
and
thank
you
you.
can see if you're able to see the image here, the rendering, you can see where it's coming back down. It'll end just short of the historic jail.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Madam Commissioner, Pine Log to Main Street. So just past Pine Log at the intersection of Milstead, it'll have a speed table there. It'll be flat, and then it'll start to rise gradually, and it'll meet Main Street. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then what will be the detour route while that's being worked on?
I think they're working on the detour plan, but it'll go around Bank Street. So if you're coming up from the hospital, you'll come up Milstead, they'll stop it right at Pine Street, you'll turn at Pine Street and detour either all the way down to Pine Log if you keep going, or you'll route around Bank Street and then reach back into Milstead. We've talked with the team also about having, and the city, we've been coordinating with them, ensuring that we have proper traffic control, that we have lights, we have, signage that's necessary, so.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add, the detour, that won't be until the next phase. So, and you'll have plenty of notice and we'll have plenty of publicity around that. So we have a ways to go for that.
Yeah, we're about a year and a half out from that, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Listen, Megan, to you and your team, thank you all for the work that you're doing. This is going to completely change the trajectory of Rockdale County, certainly the heart of our county, which is Old Town Conyers, where the county seat sits. It's going to bring a whole new energy for this area down here. I think, listen, if I was a local merchant right now in Old Town Conyers, I'd be super excited about what's about to happen, because the whole new synergy and the whole new energy of what's going to happen at the conclusion of this project will bring more foot traffic, more pedestrian, people engaged in activities. The whole epic center of our community will be relocated with a whole new breath of fresh air here in Old Town Conyers. So it's a lot to look forward to, and again, I know you'll continue to give us updates as we move forward. I was super excited to see the tax commissioner's office being demolished over the last few days. I think by the time we get to close of business today, it'll probably be completely flattened. That was the last of our buildings to bring down and demolish before the construction starts on the new admin building. Let's give the work a round of applause. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that takes care, Executive Director Rutledge, that takes care of all of our special recognitions and presentation commissioners. It's now to go forward with the people's business. Item number 4.
I move to approve the agenda as published.
I second that motion.
It has been properly motioned and second. All in favor? Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please. Approval of the minutes, September 10th, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I second the
It's
motion.
been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, unfinished business.
Okay, item 428 is a special use permit case 2023-01. An ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County, Georgia as amended to authorize a special use permit for a 200-foot AGL monopole communication tower and related telecommunication facilities at 2400 Southwest Tucker Mill Road, Conyers, Georgia, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a second reading. It was under unfinished business from the last voting session. We also have our attorney on this case, Mr. Ted Meeker, here this morning if you should have any questions.
And because this one has been such a sensitive community topic, Mr. Meeker, I'd ask that before myself and the commissioners take this item up to a vote, if you would just please be so kind to give us a quick brief once again on what thus says the law as relate to this particular issue.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
This permit was originally declined by the board. A lawsuit was filed in federal court. The Telecom Act required the county to provide a written record and a basis for its decision. If you'll recall, the main dispute centered on a title issue with respect to the lease, which is not a valid reason to deny the permit. The Telecom Act has a number of things that cannot be considered, interestingly enough. They tell you more of what you can't consider as opposed to what you can. Local zoning does still apply, don't get me wrong, but in terms of health effects and related issues, that's something that the Telecom Act says that a county or a city cannot consider in denying a permit. The last time I was here, we were still having some discussion about the lease. I believe you've received an electronic mail communication from myself that I routed through staff, in terms of what we found out about what ongoing litigation there is between the current property owners and Vertical Bridge, which has the lease interest in the property. I'm happy to go through that again quickly if you'd like me to.
Please.
Okay, in short, there are 2 cases pending right now. One was brought by the property owner against the closing attorney's office, alleging that A, that the lease is valid, and 2, that it was missed in the title search. That's one lawsuit that's pending. The second lawsuit that's pending is by Vertical Bridge against the previous property owner and the current property owner. That case is pending here in Rockdale County Superior Court in front of Judge Bills. In that case, there's already been an order entered which upheld the validity of the lease as to the previous owner. The question that I had then asked everybody is if there was any kind of a counterclaim by the current property owner against Vertical Bridge to contest the validity of the lease. And the answer, based on what I received in terms of information and reviewing the actual pleadings myself, is there is no such counterclaim. The current property owner is not contesting via a counterclaim the validity of the lease. That is where everything stands. As to this, we are under somewhat of a time-sensitive time frame. The federal court has been patient with us while we've tried to go through this reconsideration process. The technical deadline has passed. The judge's office has indicated they'll look forward to hearing from us as soon as we get a final answer from the board.
Sounds like this is going to continue with litigation regardless of what we decide anyway. And there's 2 cases that are pending before the courts that you've already pointed out.
Yes.
And regardless of what decisions are made by this board, it will continue through its own litigation, one way or the other.
The goal for me, of course, on behalf of the county, is to get the county out of the
Absolutely.
litigation.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
So I have a question. So if we want to get the county out of litigation, does that mean we need to approve it? Or
That is my
deny it?
recommendation. My recommendation is that the permit be approved.
So if we approve the permit, it gets the county out of it and the litigation is going on out here.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I move to approve the second
Hang on a minute.
reading.
So, to be clear, I fundamentally believe that, so normally in these kind of scenarios, you have a property owner that has contracted with a cell tower owner and they have agreed that this property owner wants a cell tower on their land and they're going to get paid for it. In this scenario, we have a property owner who not only is saying that they didn't know that there was going to be a cell tower on their land, but they're saying that they're telling us that they don't want the cell tower on their land. But you're saying, based on your reading of all the pleadings, that they're not contesting a cell tower being on their land. My reading of the pleadings is that they're only asking for compensation for the diminished value of their land once a cell tower is ultimately put on the land. Is that correct?
I would agree with that, yes.
And so they're not saying that they don't want it, they just want to be compensated for the diminished value.
That is my understanding. But they're not contesting the underlying lease itself in terms of its validity.
So again, that will be between the current property owner and the cell tower folks.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I move to approve the second read and adopt the ordinance as presented.
I second that motion. It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Are you opposed, Commissioner Washington?
I still am opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let the record reflect Commissioner Washington is opposed. Mr. Meeker, thank you so much.
That's my
for-
only business before the commission this
Yes,
morning,
sir.
so I'm going to excuse myself.
Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Okay, item 441 is with talent management for the Rockdale County employee policy, the severance policy.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Commissioner Williams, I think you might want to bring it.
Okay, I move to approve this policy as presented.
I second the motion. It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
I'm opposed.
I have to ask if she's
Let the
opposed.
record reflect that
Yes.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Washington is opposed. All right.
Okay, item 455 is with Cogsdale Corporation through the Water Resources Department for the IVR Net texting subscription at no cost. This is for 1 year trial period, and this was deferred at the last board meeting, but since then, Technology Services has signed off on this contract.
Okay. I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 471 is rezoning case 2024-12, an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County, Georgia as amended by rezoning 2037 Southeast Old Salem Road from AR Agricultural Residential to R1 Single Family Residential to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances for other purposes. This is submitted for a second reading.
So I have some questions. Okay, so I've done quite a bit of research into this one. Apparently, the homeowner wants to use or the landowner wants to use the entrance to Lambeth. The landowner wants to use the entrance to Lambeth Way to move for these 3 new homes that they want to build, to use that. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the residents of Lambeth Way are not excited about that because they don't know what these 3 houses are going to look like. If they're not going to look like the rest of Lambeth Estates, then they think they should just enter on Old Salem Road. They don't mind. I had a conversation this morning with a man who lives there who said he had talked with the HOA president. They do not mind them using the entrance to Lambeth Way if they join the homeowners association and pay those fees and meet the standards of the HOA.
Yes, ma'am. So again, we cannot get involved with private covenants. HOA is a private covenant, so that would be that would have to be between the landowner and the HOA. Because again, those are a private agreement between the property owners and that HOA. So we have a ordinance that says HOA must be established. However, that's for major subdivisions. Since these are 3 lots or less, it wouldn't qualify as a HOA. So if those 3 lots want to be a part of that HOA, then that's a private agreement they have to come to understanding about. As far as get access to Lambeth Way, that's a public right-of-way. That subdivision cannot deny their access to the public right-of-way. So if RDOT says, hey, you can create 3 driveways to Lambeth Way, then we'll give them access to Lambeth Way. Now, I spoke to Director Kelly. They can come off another, I believe it's Old Salem Road. Mm-hmm. We can do a private drive that way, which we have done in the past. However, if the current property owner of that property wants to do 3 driveways along Lambeth Way, then there's nothing that the HOA can really do about that because it's not a private subdivision. It's not a private entrance. It's not maintained by that subdivision. It is a public right-of-way maintained by the county, and our code says that every property owner has access to the public right-of-way.
So has the landowner in this case, have they had any kind of conversations with the HOA?
I believe they had a conversation. It has not been a productive conversation. I do not know where it stands at this point. They had a conversation with the homeowner's son and the actual homeowner. I don't know if that conversation has brought any resolutions to the HOA's concerns. Yeah, yes, ma'am. It is a little bit of a tricky standpoint because, again, it is three homes. So, again, our normal process would be a lot of conditions when it comes to a larger subdivision. However, these are just three individual lots, so they are literally a minor plat or a minor subdivision. So they are exempt from many of those extra steps that we would normally go through.
So we can't say that they can't use Lambeth Way to
Yes, ma'am. We cannot
access.
say that.
We can't say that.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is really a good one, to tell you the truth, because I think this is an opportunity for education for all of staff and all of us, because the board has to be very careful that we don't set a precedence in the wrong direction. As you stated, these are three plots, three homes. They don't constitute as a subdivision themselves. However, I am in favor of the idea of communicating, and I think the folks in Lambert Way has a great idea, the gentleman that you spoke with, about the three being a part of their HOA. However, the county itself, as the director has explained, we can't force that. We can't. That's a decision they would have to make independent and privately on their own. But I think it's something to look at. However, if the county puts itself in a position, in fact, we cannot do it. Let me be very clear. I don't want to contradict what the director is saying. We cannot force something on these three plots or lots or private-owned parcels of land to be a part of an HOA. I think it just makes sense. They're in super close proximity. It makes sense if they can be a part of that, but that's a decision that has to be decided upon individually by those individuals. If the county begins to do that, when there's future progress very similar to this, folks will be coming back and they're going to cite this decision if the county makes the wrong decision. So that's something to keep in mind. We don't want to set a precedent and start moving in the wrong direction, and then you have a flow of folks coming in the future asking and requesting or believing that the county is obligated to make a decision that we're not. We're not. So we have to be very, very careful. That's when we really have to respect the content expert in our various departments, and in this case is Deputy Director Wheeler and Planning and Development. Commissioner Washington?
But we can condition that instead of using Old Lambert Way, that they utilize Old Salem.
I would defer to Director Kelly about that when it comes to that. If he would be able to kind of determine that the possibility of that, I would say we only condition that if there's a valid reason. If I would say that, however, if it is, I prefer Director Kelly being able to answer that when it comes to access onto the site regarding this. I'm
interested in hearing what Director Kelly. Come on up, Director. Number one for me is public safety. It's a public safety concern that I have, no matter how you look at it. You're talking about these three, but I'm going to stop talk.
Good morning, Commissioner. Or good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioner. In this instance, the way it's laid out, you have more access on Old Salem, and that would be ideal. But to say that you would have to use Lambert, that I'd hesitate to do that. So the roads are set up for the capacity where that would be your main route to get out.
Old Lambert or Salem?
Salem.
Old Salem. So it would be, from a public safety standpoint, it would be more, it would be better to use Old Salem than Lambert Way. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, Old Salem would have your capacity to be able to handle it.
But
Yes.
Lambeth Way exits onto Old Salem also.
So, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, Board, I think there are a few things that could be worked out if this item was deferred to the next board meeting. And let me be a little clear. There's only a few conditions attached to this proposed rezoning right now that would allow staff to talk with Lambeth Estates to see what it is that's in their HOA that maybe we could mirror, even though we can't require these three lots to join into a private covenant. He's absolutely right. It would also give us time to look at the entrance and exits and the egress and have a a better site plan attached to this application that's before you this morning that addresses these issues.
Executive Director Rutledge, I certainly do appreciate you sharing that. And you're absolutely right. Commissioners, it will allow us, if we pause from making a decision today, I think going back to what Commissioner Williams said originally about the communication piece, the three property owners and the HOA president of Lambert Estates will have an opportunity to talk, and I think when people get an opportunity to talk, it can usually work out and find a common ground. In addition, for our public safety interests and our RDOT department, it will serve, and all of our other public safety entities, to give them an opportunity to research and really take a hard look at what's best in terms of access from a public safety standpoint. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
I move to defer this ordinance until the next regularly scheduled BOC voting session.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any additional comments or questions?
Well, I just want to say that I hope they will come to some conclusion themselves and figure out a way to work that. On the other hand, I appreciate Executive Director Rutledge saying we could talk to the HOA president and see exactly what those standards are for the homes and see if there's something we can mirror in the conditions.
The issue is, even if we put it as a condition, it would burden the county because the HOA wouldn't have any way to find, or I guess they would call code enforcement and tell them that their grass is high or something.
As a condition, so.
But it wouldn't be any, even if we put the conditions exactly as they are in the HOA, the county would take on the function of becoming the HOA of those 3 lots.
But we already are for all the properties of the county.
I understand that, and that's exactly what I said in the staff meeting, but apparently there wasn't good enough job being done because we're having this issue now with the homeowners association is not happy with what happened to the first house, which is why we're here, why they have so many concerns about them having 3 houses. So
yes, just to kind of bring some background to it. So the HOA had concerns regarding this property. The property had a single-family home on it. It was a rental property apparently at this time, and there was many issues that the HOA complained about, saying dilapidated structures, unwanted animals, drug infestation, things of that nature. However,
chickens.
Chickens as well. And so they said they had called code enforcement to complain and so forth. Code enforcement looked into the issue, but could not find a track history of any outstanding complaints regarding this piece of property. So therefore, staff is unable to verify that. However, it could have been complaints, but could have been something that already been dealt with, but not brought to the county's attention at this point in time. So
thank you so much for that, and thank you also, Commissioner Washington. We're going to prolong this just a little bit. I want to point this out because this is a teachable moment. Here's what I just heard. If you're going to properly lodge a complaint, you need to contact Rockdale County, not Facebook, not Instagram, not social media, not next door. You need to call the county. So what's the number? I'm glad you asked. It's 770-278-7000. Call the proper agency. Also, code enforcement is the division within planning and development who has been tasked and responsible for responding to those complaints in our community. We are the code enforcement for all of Rockdale County. But if you don't call us, we're not made aware. If you don't bring it to our attention, we're not made aware. And you can talk about it at the barbershop, at church, at the grocery store, at the front yard, at the clothesline, at the picket fence. But if you don't pick up that number, pick up the phone and dial 770-278-7000 and ask for Rockdale County Code Enforcement, your complaint never gets lodged. So putting it on Nextdoor, Facebook, and all of those social media outlets does you no good with any of your complaints. by the way. You need to call the actual department that is related to. And I think there's been a habit now of oftentimes citizens just want to vent or complain, and they're airing their sentiments, but they're airing them to the wrong platform. The platform, the county has a website. Guess what? The county still is a business. It has a website. And we have various departments, so you can contact. I wanted to make sure I said that because a lot of times people say, well, we've complained. Who did you complain to? Next door? That's not the county. You got to contact the county and make sure you lodge a real complaint. On top of that, I do agree that it is the responsibility, commissioners, for internally and for our operations that code enforcement, once they receive the information, there still is a process. There's a process that takes us all the way up to, if needed, magistrate court. Okay, so make sure that we are aware of that. There is a process. The code enforcement officer responds to the complaint. He investigates the complaint or the inquiry about what's happening and goes through a reasonable amount of time to work with the violator. And then if the violator doesn't conform or comply within a reasonable amount of time, he goes back out, cite them with a citation, and then they let it go before the judge in magistrate court. So I just want to make sure that, because there's so many people listening and watching, and a lot of times folks don't understand how the processes work. Commissioner Washington.
So my last question is, because these are only 3 homes, legally, can we mandate that only one of them be rental and not all 3 of them?
I would have to look into that one because, again, it is a minor subdivision, so it's not the same thing as a regular subdivision. So these are 3 individual lots. So that condition would be something I would have to look into and as well speak to legal about that.
I don't even think 3 homes don't even qualify as a subdivision.
No,
just
sir.
3
It has to be
houses.
4.
Just 3 houses.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
would still look into it.
Okay,
Though.
all right, thank you.
Okay,
All
so
right.
we had a motion and a second.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, consent agenda.
Item
no,
473.
473.
Item 473 is for Public Relations Department. This is 2 Rockdale County policies. Item A is internal policy for governing Rockdale County social media, and item B is external social media policy for Rockdale County.
And before we begin to take a vote, there's been a good bit of conversation centered around this. I want to hear from Executive Director Mims. This is your wheelhouse. I want you to come and talk to us about both of these items. There's been a lot of feedback and I think a little bit of misunderstanding about how all of this worked, and I think it's important that you educate us.
Good morning. So one of the top subjects of conversations in the government communicators throughout the state of Georgia is social media policies and crisis management policies. So within the last year, we've been formatting our social media policy. What is the internal policy? We have 16 departments within Rockdale County, and almost all of them have 1 or 2 social media pages, but we don't have a policy on how those pages are governed. So a policy would be a benefit to Rockdale County. It would make for more consistent expectations and trainings, because it could be considered deliberate indifference if we were to have a lawsuit that we don't have a policy, or if an untrained employee misrepresent a social media policy or they do something that breaks the law. So the policy will provide the guidelines on how our departments will handle social media, why the pages are set up, the administrators for the page. So that's what the internal policy would do. Okay. For our external policy, it's not to censor a voice, but lately with social media, there's a lot of spam, or if we have violence, if someone's inciting violence on the page, instead of waiting on Facebook to take it down, which it might be a while, if we have a policy, we can manage that ourselves.
I'm so glad you took a moment, Executive Director Mims, to explain that, particularly about the internal piece, but then more importantly about the external piece. When I think about artificial intelligence and how this whole AI space is moving rampant across the world, and that includes Rockdale County, now anyone can just about do anything or say anything. It can be misconstrued, misunderstood, and someone could think it's the real Rockdale County, and all along, it's not. So we have to have policies in place to help govern our employees, and we have to have this external piece is to really more of a message that we're sending very clearly to the public out there that we're not going to sit idly by while you get to do and say anything about Rockdale County or confuse people and think that you are Rockdale County in some regard and you're not. So that's, I think we need to be talking about artificial intelligence even more to educate some folks who are not paying attention to how the world is moving from technology. I think there's a benefit to Facebook and there can be some downside. There's a benefit to AI, there can certainly be some downside. So I think the more we educate but monitor, and we create these policies so we can govern what we're doing here in the county. So thank you for this. I think this is very important because as the workforce, the face of our workforce culture continues to change, people think differently. The organization has to set some standards in place because there's some folks that's coming onto the workforce now that they don't believe in working past 5 o'clock. I call them 458ers, and they're halfway through the parking lot all the way to their car. Mm-hmm. But for us old schoolers, we stick around about 5:30, 6 o'clock. We still here. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll do it with a smile. But the new folks, they won't know how much they're going to get paid to wipe off the desk. So I'm just saying, we got to educate folks, got to educate. So said Chairman Nisbet.
So just for a point of clarification, the question comes up, will this policy, is it regarding the employees or their personal pages? That's a misconception. That's not the case. We don't govern employee pages and what they say on their pages. That's an aspect of talent management. So that's not what the policy is for.
Executive Director Mims, I'm so glad you brought that up. We're going to move on, commissioners, but I'm going to say this one piece. When I think about the fact that we do not govern an employee's personal Facebook or social media page, we don't do that. But I am one of those leftover folks from old school that it was important to a school teacher in terms of how she projects herself, even on her personal page, that the school system doesn't have any control of. If you have a certain type of profession or job or livelihood, then how you conduct yourself and portray yourself is important because it does become a reflection of the organization that either connected to you or you're connected to it. We can't tell you what to do, but in your best interest. Anybody that's hiring new people today, guess what the first place they go to when they see your resume? They don't look at your resume as well. They're going to read all that. They're going to search you on social media. They're going to Google you, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff, LinkedIn. So it may be incumbent upon you to think about the brand that you're building. So if you're dropping it like it hot on the weekend, you putting it on Facebook, then you may want to consider that if you're in the world of seeking employment, because they may not want you damaging their brand. And you say, well, my piece of paper, it is yours. But if you're thinking futuristic, for opportunities, you may want to think about that. I thought I'd throw that little piece in for the old schoolers. Thank you so much, Executive Director Mims. Thank you.
Well, before you sit down, I was not in favor of external social media policy, just because I believe fundamentally that the people have the right to address the government. And now that social media is a huge way in which the government is addressed, I believe that they have the right to put those comments on social media. Good, bad, or ugly, I believe in order to sit in these seats and in order to govern, you have to agree with the people's right to address the government, which is us. But that being said, I want to go over, if we could list out the ways in which these comments will be, the criteria for removal. If you could read that to the people so that they can see that we're not saying, if you don't think that the commissioners are doing a good job, or you think whatever was said was something bogus, that's not what will be removed. What will be removed are certain things that fall in a very finite criteria, and that's the only reason why I believe that if you put certain things on social media that compromise the safety of the Board of Commissioners, that needs to be removed. I believe that if you if you could please read
Absolutely.
these lists,
Yeah.
the list out for what will be removed from the social media.
Thank you for bringing it up. Under the external policy, under Section 5, however the law permits us to hide or delete comments, they are not protected speech under the First Amendment. So as a general rule, we cannot hide or delete comments solely because they are critical of the Board of Commissioners or Rockdale County. So that needs to be understood. Just because a comment is critical of the board or the commissioners, it's not deleted. But prohibited content includes content or comments that express direct violence or illegal activity, comments containing or linking to sexually explicit, pornographic details, comments that encourage or advocate our agency to illegally discriminate based on age, race, gender, and so forth, comments containing links of malware, malicious content, if someone was to put a spam link into the comments, duplicate comments posted repeatedly within a short period of time, comments containing actual defamation against a specifically named person or organization as determined by a court, or comments that defamatorily or easily discovered facts about someone, comments or images that violate intellectual property, comments that contain hyperlinks or websites other than those controlled by our agency. When a comment containing any of the above comments posted to our social media account, a copy or electronic record of that comment may be retained in pursuit of our records. So if someone was to violate this policy, we screenshot it, we reach out to the person. They have 3 times to violate before, if they want, like we can block someone from commenting on our social media page if they are a repeat offender of the things that I just mentioned. And the appeal process will go through our county attorney.
The only thing that I would ask is if we could tighten up or figure out what exactly, or repeat multiple times. Like, is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 10? Like,
When you say multiple times, are you speaking of any of the 6 things that I mentioned when I say repeat offenders?
No.
Oh.
When you said that comments that are said multiple times in a short period of time, like, what does that mean?
So
Because
if there are any of these comments, we can delete those comments without saying, anything to the citizen. But if they do this 3 times, okay, I'm sorry.
So what I'm understanding is there are people that if you make a comment, they'll make a comment, they'll put, I like cookies. And then if you make a comment, they'll say the same thing, I like cookies. And then if I make a comment, the same thing, I like cookies. Those are the I like cookies because it's the same thing being said a multiple number of times. That comment will be deleted because that's not in violation of.
That's not in violation.
Okay.
Only the prohibited content under Section 2, those that I mentioned. Yeah. We like comments. We welcome. This policy is not to censor the voice of the citizens. We want a more pleasant engagement site for our social media. These, for the external use, is for the prohibited content. If we're asking, what's your favorite cookie, that's great content.
No,
but that's an example, but that's not considered prohibited.
So in the essence of time, Commissioner, let me ask, do you want to defer this and give more time to engage and research and collaborate?
No, we can
or do you want to move forward?
Move forward, but I would like to, when I find this, if we might be able to amend this particular one.
Okay.
To make it.
So, Executive Director Mims, what I want to encourage you to do is take a moment and work collaboratively with the county attorney and Commissioner Washington on this, even beyond today, to make sure that if there's any interests or concerns that she might have, that we don't overlook them, please. Okay. All right, so commissioners, what's your pleasure? And you're right, Commissioner Washington, you got to have thick skin to do this job.
I move to approve these policies as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right.
Okay. We are down to the regular agenda. We have nothing on consent today. So the first item is 478 with the Association County Commissioners of Georgia, the Civic Affairs Foundation through the Talent Management Department. This is for the General Georgia County Internship Program. It's a grant application to work directly with the Human Resources Information System Division. The amount is $3,000 with a $400 match from Rockdale County. The term is May 1st, 2025 through September 1st, 2025.
I
Commissioner,
move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
it's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 479 is with Mercer University through the Talent Management Department for Enterprise Learning Partnership for free educational partnership to provide county employees a tuition discount at the post-secondary institution until canceled.
Wow, that's a big deal.
I move to approve this contract as
Yeah,
presented.
I want to hear from the Executive Director of Talent Management.
Well, I'll second. We'll put it on the
Okay,
floor.
thank you.
Because there's a whole bunch of them. There's
And I think she can kind of cover them all
six
about.
different universities.
There's five.
Five?
Good morning again,
Good
Chairman,
morning.
Madam Commissioners. There's five before you right now, but it is an initiative through our Rockdale County University program that we have. Obviously, allowing our opportunities to receive discounts through these educational institutions helps with retention. It helps with learning and development. It helps with morale. Definitely important for us to be able to offer them. So in front of you, the discounts range anywhere between 10, 25%. Some of them are application waivers. Some of them provide discounts on professional development courses as well. So this allows our employees an opportunity to be able to participate in these schools while receiving educational discounts. So we are super excited about being able to do that. So even outside of what's in front of you, we also have Georgia College and State University, so some local schools here. We have Middle Georgia State University as well, and then also Southern New Hampshire, which is not up there right now, but we're going to continue to reach out to these educational institutions and be able to offer those discounts to our employees.
So are you saying the school will discount it, or the county is actually subsidizing?
Great question, Madam Commissioner. The school will discount it. So the employee, if they work with Rockdale County as part of the partnership with these organizations, will receive the applicable discount. So yes, it is a discount
From the school.
from the school. Yes.
Awesome.
Very good. Very good. It's all about personal and professional investment. Absolutely. I think it's good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to take them one by one.
Yes, so you have a motion and a second for item 479.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 480 is with South University Savannah LLC through Talent Management Department for Corporate Education Program for free educational partnership to provide county employees a tuition discount at the post-secondary institution. This is for 2 years.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the
It's
motion.
been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 481 is the same, and it's with Eastern Kentucky University through Talent Management. It's a memorandum of understanding for free educational partnership to provide county employees a tuition discount at the post-secondary institution, and it's for 3 years.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that
It's
motion.
been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 482 is with Walden University through Talent Management. It's a letter of understanding for free educational partnership to provide county employees a tuition discount at the post-secondary institution. This is for 1 year with 1 year auto renewal.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 483 is with Liberty University through the Talent Management Department for a corporate program for free educational partnership to provide county employees a tuition discount at the post-secondary institution, and this is for 2 years.
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I like all of these. These encourage our employees to invest in themselves. And when we get a more educated and trained, certified workforce, we get better delivery of services in Rockdale County. Let's give talent management a round of applause. That's good work. That's good work.
And I might just add, I got my master's from Walden University. So.
See, very good. All right. Next item, please.
Item 484 is with Pinnacle 33 Signage Solutions LLC through the General Services Department for the design, purchase, and installation of 2 monument signs, options A at Salem and option 2 at Sigmund, plus solar lighting package. The amount is $350,601.90, and it's 120 days from the notice to proceed. This is host funded.
Outstanding.
This is my concern about these pinnacles. We just had a budget, during our budget hearings, we had a presentation from the sheriff. The sheriff has indicated that he has 2 critical needs. One is a generator, which is only, and I'm saying only because this is $350,000. The generator is only $40,000. He also is in need of a roof for the jail, which is right at $1 million. I know that we're looking at claims, but I think that it would be, since this is host funded, and the reason that we were given for the sheriff not having the generator and for him not having the roof for the jail was because we weren't doing a lot of host, because we reallocated the host. We don't have the money for the host. I think it would be a better use of host funds to make sure that he has his generator and to make sure that the roof to the jail is fixed before we put out these monuments signs in the community. So I would like to defer this until we make sure that we're taking care of the internal workings of the county. Like I said, then we have to make sure that the inmates are taken care of, because if the roof falls in on them, it's going to be more than $1 million in that lawsuit. And if something happens, especially now we have a storm coming through now, and the electricity goes out and we don't have a generator for things like medicine, then we are going to once again pay more than $40,000 because we have been negligent. So while I believe this is a great idea and I've advocated for it, I would just like to see those priorities taken care of before we move forward with the signage. That is all.
Director Hammer, you were going to shed some light on this in one direction or the other.
Yes, sir, and good morning.
Good morning.
So there's a whole lot there, right? A whole lot to unpack. I do know the sheriff did present his capital requests, and I just want to also let you know General Services is responsible for the buildings and the maintenance. If you recall, we do have a generator maintenance program that we evaluate all the generators, so we're heavily involved in that. As with regard to that specific generator, our recommendation, our internal recommendation, is to repair that generator because it's not that old. So when we evaluate, we do a life cycle analysis, and I know sometimes the sheriff's office, they have something that's broken down, they just want to get it replaced. You know, in a sense, they don't really care how that happens, they just want to make sure that it's functional. So we've evaluated that. Our recommendation is to make the repairs on it, because the repairs for about $40,000 probably could get at least 5 or 10 more years out of the generator, as opposed to spending $300,000 or $400,000 on a new generator that has not yet met the end of its life cycle. So we're evaluating that, working with the sheriff's office on that.
Recommendation, whatever he recommended, was only $40,000.
That's correct, and we're working on that currently. We will be doing the repairs on that as well. This won't affect the signage that we have as well.
But so you're saying that the roof and the generator are being worked on now, and we found the funds to do both?
Well, the roof is a separate item, so I was just speaking to the generator to start with. The sheriff does have a 100,000 square foot jail. That's the facility he has now. It has 3 different types of roofs on it. If you recall, it was built in 2008, 2009. Several of the roofing elements should still be under warranty. So we're working with the claims to make sure that we can if we can come up with any funding sources that will pay for some of those repairs. And again, I hate to stand up here and contradict the sheriff too much, but we have done repairs this year on his roofing system as well as last year. So again, when we evaluate the roofs, we want to make sure that it's comprehensive. If something is not at the end of its life cycle, if it can be repaired, same thing we do with vehicles, generators, facilities, anything like that, all the equipment, we want to make sure that we get the most taxpayer dollars out of it that we can. So there's 3 different roofs on the sheriff's facility, and it kind of gets a little complicated. I have diagrams, and we're evaluating those now. One, we did some repairs last year. We did some repairs earlier this year on a different section, and I think he's referring to another section. So I understand his concern is he just wants them to be fixed. He doesn't want them to leak. The flip side of that is when you have a 100,000 square foot facility with all kinds of different roof sections on it, it is something that you have to maintain commonly. So what I'm saying on the roof is we have a proposal now from an engineering firm to do a full evaluation on the roof. So we're not just saying we need a new roof, let's throw $1 million at it, that we're actually evaluating it to make sure whether it needs a new roof, whether it's still within its life cycle, and what needs to be done in order to make sure that the building is watertight, as opposed to just spending another $1 million on re-roofing something that doesn't need it.
And I understand that. What funding source are we using to repair the roof?
We'll either use capital funding, or sometimes if it's smaller repairs, it falls under the general services budget. And the engineering evaluation falls under the general services department. So that's what we're doing currently.
So once you get the evaluation back, you determine the cost, and then
That's
you'll
correct.
be able to figure out which budget it comes from.
Correct. Thank you. Yes.
So here's another question, because all that brought a whole lot of stuff to mind.
Yeah.
But let me ask this question. Is it raining in the jail? Are the inmates is there an element problem or weather condition problem? She's right about this upcoming inclement weather that's headed our way. And I heard the sheriff, and we support public safety. But my question is, Director of General Services, can they look up and see the stars?
No, they can't.
Okay. All right. Is it raining in there?
It's not raining currently, no,
Okay.
sir. But it does, they do have a roof that is reaching the end of
Okay.
its life cycle, and they have had issues
Well,
with that.
my concern is for the humanity part of it. We do have
Yes, sir.
people, citizens. I mean, they're inmates, but
Absolutely.
they're people, and it's our responsibility, i.e. the sheriff's responsibility, to take care of those folks while they're in his custody and care. That's a part of the BOC responsibility. We own the building. So I want to make sure that as all of this conversation is being open like it is, that number one, we can assure that they're not looking up tonight and looking at the stars of the moon, and that when the inclement weather comes, i.e. rain, it's not raining in the jail. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And there is an evaluation process that's taking place right now to determine what needs to be done, and then ultimately the cost.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner?
I have a question. So when you determine what exactly is going on and what exactly needs to be done, then where will you look for that funding? Will you be looking at the host funds?
Possibly. I mean, that was something as the
Based
sheriff.
upon the cost.
Based upon the cost, yes, ma'am. So some of the smaller items, just to give you an example, he has if you go over to the jail, there's the front part where you come into the entrance, then there's a large metal roofing, and then there's a flat building on the back of it. Last year, we had a contractor up there. I think there was 25,000 screws on the metal roof, and we had them check every single one of them and tighten them, and because they work their way out over time, and that causes very small leaks, which can lead to larger leaks. So we had a contractor evaluate that last year. Earlier this year, on the flat roof, there's flashing elements where the parapet wall on the roofing comes up and it meets it, and that's a point that typically fails on roofing as well. We had that repaired. So as they do have issues over there, we work with the sheriff's office diligently and quickly to evaluate those. So it kind of depends on that evaluation. If the roofing company says most of the roof is fine on the flat areas, but where you have penetrations, where you have flashing on the corners, things like that need to be repaired, those repairs might come in at only $10,000 or $15,000, and then you wouldn't be spending $300,000 to repair that section of the roof. Same thing with a metal roof. If they say the curbing where the air conditioning units go in, those need to be repaired or caulked or updated, flashed properly, those repairs are a lot less expensive than ripping the entire roof off and repairing and replacing it.
Okay, thank you.
So maintenance is so important, and I think this whole conversation, Commissioner Washington, around the jail and the integrity of the building and all of those things, the upkeep, which includes the roof, is very important for Rockdale County. I mean, there's a big cost involved because how old is you said 2008, the new jail?
That's correct. It's opened 2009.
Okay, so that's something for the board and the board going forward to monitor and keep up with in terms of maintenance. The sheriff and his team is responsible for law enforcement.
And we've been working with the sheriff's office more and more over the years. Back in 2009, they had a different maintenance department. They had something that was dedicated to that, whereas nowadays we've been working with them more and more as things get more specialized. We're involved more and more in that.
And I think some clarification and all that needs to be clear going forward. Yeah.
Well, what I would like to see, before we spend $350,000 of host funds on monuments, I would like to see a plan that is signed off by the sheriff on whatever repairs, because the sheriff's rendition of what's going on with the roof is completely different than what we're hearing today. I would like to see a plan to make sure that this roof is fixed and the generator is there. And I would like to see the costs, how we're going to pay for that, what funds it's going to come out, where it's coming from, if we have any insurance I know they have an adjuster coming out, if there's any insurance that's going to pay for any part of it. I want to make sure that those capital improvements are taken care of first before we do something. I mean, this is exciting, and it's going to add a wow element to Rockdale County, but it's one of those, if we're not taking care of what we're responsible for taking care of, we shouldn't do this yet. So what I would like to see is the plan to make sure those two capital improvements are taken care of and how we're going to fund it. And I would like to defer this. So I move to defer this, is it 484, until the next regularly scheduled board meeting.
And you want to do that so that we can get a bigger picture of how, can we afford to do the monuments and the repairs to the sheriff?
Right. I want to make sure that the roof and the generator are taken care of, how we're going to do it, making sure that he is comfortable with what we're doing and how it's done, and that everything he thinks needs to be done, because it's his jail. The citizens have elected him to take care of the people in it, and that's his jail. I want to make sure he's okay with everything, and then we can look at spending over $250,000 on monuments.
So, okay. This is my perspective here. First of all, let me be very clear. I'm in full support of making sure that we inspect what we expect. The jail is owned by the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners. It is our responsibility to take care of that building and all of those things. The sheriff is tasked with overseeing the jail, and it's in his wheelhouse. It's his responsibility. The custody and the care of the inmates is in the responsibility of the sheriff. When there's a maintenance issue, that has to be properly communicated to our team so that our team can get out there and do what needs to be done. While they focus on law enforcement, we focus on what we do best: repair, maintenance, and those things. The sheriff did a great job with presenting his budget in terms of what he needs. My understanding that between this board and our finance team, all of this is inside the process mill. It's being processed. The director of facility maintenance and general services just stated to us twice that they're evaluating the process. Once they get to a final cost, that will determine which budget it comes from in terms of how it's paid for, in terms of the generator as well as the roof. Mr. Director, let me ask, from a time standpoint, based upon the concerns of the commissioner, how much more time before you have an answer with this evaluation and coordinating, communicating with finance to determine which pot of money this should come from, and then getting an idea of what it's going to cost?
If we focus mainly on the roof, since that's a much larger one, to simplify it, we're presenting a purchase order to finance today. Actually, we received the quote from the engineering company. They're going to evaluate it. It'll take them at least 2 or 3 weeks to perform that evaluation. And then the following part of that is to produce a specification. Once they produce a specification, then the roof will either go to one of the contractors that are on state contract, or it'll have to go back out to bid. So we're at least, I would say, 2-3 months from when we would have roofing materials at the very, very earliest if we take the fastest route.
So, go ahead, Commissioner.
So as long as we have the ability, as long as we see the ability to pay for it, once we get the amount and the specs and what needs to be done, as long as I see how much it's going to cost and how we're going to pay for it, and it doesn't, and we still have enough money for the monuments, I'm okay with that. But what I don't want to see is us having the roof lingering out there and the I forgot what it is, but the generator out there, and we're putting up monuments on the outside of the county. So as long as we have the plan in place, I'm okay with the monuments. But right now, we don't have the plan in place, and that's my problem.
I got it. So, listen, the commissioner is saying let's focus on our needs before we put interest in our wants. I'm in support of deferring this. Let's give you an opportunity to get with finance. You all circle the wagon, get back with the commissioner, and a roof and a generator at the jail is way more important than a monument on the side of the road that's lit up and is going to illuminate and give a beautiful aesthetic of this community. Whereas I support making sure we look good, I think it's important that we focus on our needs first, and that's what the commissioner is articulating. I'm supporting it. I think if we defer it, it'll give us enough time to circle the wagon and come back to it. We've got to put our priorities in the proper place. So make the motion, Commissioner. I think we're ready to move forward.
I move that we defer this contract until the next regularly scheduled BOC meeting.
I second that.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 485 is with Prologix ITS through the General Services Fleet Division. This is for supply and install light packages on various emergency vehicles. It's a unit price as needed basis for 1 year with option to renew 2 additional 1-year periods.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 486 is with McCarthy Barnsley, a joint venture through the General Services Department for the Judicial Administrative Complex. This is change order number 2 to contract 2023-149 for construction packet 2 to obtain subcontracts for earthwork and grading, structural concrete, and electrical generator. The amount is $30,235,482, and this is through the Judicial Complex funding.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Chairman, may I say one real quick thing about this? I received a call from...
What you talking about? This
I'm
or,
sorry,
or
yes,
what we just talked about?
The joint venture with McCarthy Barnsley,
Okay.
the Judicial
Yes, sir,
Administrative
Director.
Complex. I'm sorry, I just felt it was really important, and I apologize for interrupting, but I received, I was talking with a citizen this morning, and it was really regarding our process, and she said, how on earth can we have a change order? We haven't started yet. And it really got to me that there's a process that the board follows and that we as directors follows and the construction follows that may not be fully understood by some of the citizens. So if you don't mind, I have two quick things that I wanted to mention. So the first thing has to do with the delivery. So as this is a very, very large and complex project, one way to deliver the project, one way to build the project would be to do the design, bid everything out, and then build it from there. This is a slightly different format. In this format, it's a construction manager at risk contract that the board has approved. So what that means is we bring the architect on board, we bring the contractor on board at the very early in the process so that we're working together. We do that to ensure things stay within budget throughout the process. So that's really important so that we don't design something for 2 years, then we go to bid it out. It's 2 years from when we started with our budget, we bid it out, and it comes in much more expensive, and we're not tracking that with real live contractor cost as we go along. So that's why the board has chosen to build this in this manner. So that's the first thing, and the reason it's related to this is change order number 2 is just the second piece of it. Anytime the board, and again, you all know this, but this sort of education, anytime the board has a contract and there's a change to that contract, whether it adds cost or even removes cost, deducts cost, that's a change order as, as part of the contractual agreement. So when the citizen asked me, why are we making a change? We haven't even started. This change order number 2 is the second stage in the contract. We just can't call it stage 2 or 1A or 1B because it's contractual language. So I thought that was important to discuss or to bring up. The first part of this contract was the initial bringing the contractor on board at the very beginning of the process. Change order number 2 is the first section of this, and as Ms. Kaczkowski mentioned at the earlier part, will there be 4 pieces to this contract? So we're on number 2. We'll be doing number 3 and number 4 shortly. The other comment that the citizen made was every time they see the same project up there, she thinks, well, how come we didn't plan for this? Why do we keep coming back to the board for more money for this? And I think sometimes citizens have if you don't do construction, there's a difference between each individual piece that is contracted and then the project budget as a whole. So our project budget as a whole has not changed since we started this process, but each piece of it is approved at a different time, and every time you need that approval for those dollar amounts within the project budget, I have to stand up here and go back before the board for each piece of that. So first a design, then we do due diligence for testing, for commissioning. We've had those come up before. This is the piece for construction, and that'll be in 2 more pieces in addition to this one. And then there will be owner items such as utilities, furniture, computers, technology, pieces like that. Those aren't cumulative. They don't add up in addition to our project budget. They're all worked out within the project budget. So I just thought that was important, and I apologize for jumping in, but that is something that I think our citizens need to understand.
No apology
That was
required.
great.
I think you should prepare to continue to do that all the way through this process. The nature of our citizens here in Rockdale County, they're going to be zooming in on this project from start to finish, as they already are, and rightfully so, I should say. But I think we need to be in the place of educating and informing as much as we can. Don't take it any other kind of way that, and you're right, you stated as you began to talk, a lot of folks don't know and they don't understand. It's an incumbent upon us to teach and explain, and we need to be prepared to do that all the way through the process, because they're going to be watching and listening all the way through, and folks are going to have multiple inquiries. So just brace yourself and prepare to continue to communicate, because that's what's going to be required. All right, where are we, Executive Director Rutledge?
Item 487.
Okay.
All right, so item 487 is with Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, the DBHDD, through the Board of Commissioners, Government Affairs Office, staffing for the Diversion Center grant, which is now the Restorative Justice Complex. The amount is $280,471.01. This is no match. The term is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
So what is this? I'm not sure what the funding is to be used for. It says staffing.
So in the back of the contract, there is an addendum, and it is staffing and supplies. And do you want me to read it out?
Sure.
Okay, it's a lot. So
Oh.
the personnel with the administrative manager is 100% of the support. And so that's $30,000. Training and travel is at $30,000. Regular operating for crisis response system, the development for the first year. The Tech Go crisis response, that's the data collection software, $71,000. The coordination of the care coordination for year 2, that's also the mobile software, and working between the counties and the community resources to connect to individuals that need the help. Office supplies, consultants, indirect fee for the consultation to engage the strategic planning process, which you've already been in. This is some of the funding that was applied for, I think, 2 years ago, and now we are receiving it on an annual basis. And so the program manager, which of course is Mary Lou, has revised some of the funding mechanisms so we can, we had gone back and met with Commissioner Tanner and with the head of DBHDD, and we're able to pull the funding back down, and so it amounts the $280,471.01.
Okay.
All right, this is
I
the,
move to approve the
I would
contract.
hope so.
I second that motion.
it's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries for the Dr. Doreen's Restorative Justice Center.
Oh, I know. Well, it's a testament to when that was applied for, because it's still referred to as Diversion Center on the
That's a
grant
long time
recipient
ago, right.
documents, and we've
We hadn't
since
used that
changed it.
term in a long time.
But
ago.
whatever, if it gets
Absolutely.
us funding, we'll keep putting it in there, so.
Next item,
Okay,
please.
item 488 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the Finance Department for delegating signing authority for the signature authorization letter, removing grants manager and replacing with CFO and deputy CFO. This is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
Item 489 is with Cone Resnick through the Finance Department. It's a master services agreement for grants consulting. The amount is $20,000 for a grants manager, $195 per hour, and a grants specialist at $145 per hour, and is through March 31st, 2025.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 490 is with Critical Components through the Technology Services Department for Schneider Electric subcontractor completion form for project management services at the data center. This is a signature only.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 491 is with Georgia Emergency Management Agency through the Homeland Security Department. This is Emergency Management Agency Hazard Mitigation Grant Closeout. This is a signature only.
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that
It's
motion.
been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 492 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department for Go Forth Williamson. This is an emergency pool pump number 2 and rebuild as per quote. The amount is $16,150. It's submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this requisition as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 493 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department for Carter Verplank. This is a replacement of the filter backwash pump at the high service pump station located at the water treatment plant off G's Mill. The amount is $277,270.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 494 is a requisition through the General Services Department for Laz and Associates for Phase 1 building renovations at the Restorative Justice Complex. The amount is $95,122.50. This is ARPA funded.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 495 is a requisition through the General Services Department for United Maintenance. This is for the courthouse business maintenance system. It's HVAC controls integration project. The amount is $159,571. This is ARPA funded.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, I do. So what is this exactly?
My day to be up here,
It
I
is.
guess.
Just stay on up there.
Okay, so if you recall, we replaced the chiller at the courthouse, is the three-story annex building. We took several of the different pieces off of the old system and combined them all together. So this is the last piece to that, and it's a building maintenance management system, BMMS system, that allows us to, for one thing, adjust temperature controls with using smart devices over the phone, remotely, those type of things. So it takes all of the control systems for the entire courthouse complex, as well as the magistrate, which is also part of the courthouse complex, just happens to be across the street, and it puts them together so that all of them can be controlled together. Prior to this, the old chiller was on a Windows, I think it was a 98 computer, if you remember, it was Windows 98. So we had tried to upgrade it several times, and when we went to the new chiller, this is the last piece of it that puts it on a modern system.
So I guess I'm looking at, okay, we're putting money into the courthouse, but we're going to be renovating. So is this something that will transfer over?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So this won't affect, this is the three-story annex, the chiller, all the controls, and what they call PIUs, their power induction units, or the things in the ceiling that actually zone the entire building. All of those will stay in the renovation. Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lieutenant, you okay over there? You all right? Okay, just checking on you. All right, next item, please.
We have a motion and a second.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 496 is an expenditure request for the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District through the Water Resources Department for the 2025 dues. The amount is $23,392.50.
I move to approve this expenditure request as presented.
I second the motion.
Been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 497 is a surplus of equipment through the Fire and Rescue Department.
I move to declare this item as surplus as presented.
I second that motion.
What's the item?
It's a 2003 Ford Crown Victoria.
Okay, I knew that. I just want you to say it. She said a Crown Victoria. You know how long they stopped making?
2003.
They
Haven't
stopped
heard
making
that in a
them
while.
Crown Victorias. This should have been surplus. Absolutely, that's an old
That is
vehicle.
old.
2003 Crown Vic. They don't
But-
make them anymore.
But knowing fire, it's still running though.
Well, it's running, but it doesn't run out. Okay, all in favor? It's been properly. Where are we on this one?
Motion and second.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
But before we finish with that,
We're
what are we
done.
doing with it? No, I just want to know if there's any way we can donate it to RCA to see, because they got no.
No.
Okay, they said no. All right.
Commissioner, you know when you put us out there like that, I mean, you done said what you done said, and maybe that was offline for you and the chief and the chief.
Was wondering.
Okay, we can talk about that, absolutely. Okay, it's parked over there at
She
Fleet
says
somewhere.
no anyway, so it's no.
Next item, please.
All right, we're almost there. Okay. Item 498 is a volunteer appointment for the Board of Adjustment. It's a reappointment of Nichelle Ford. The term is through February 1st, 2028.
I move to approve this reappointment as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. That's a wrap on that. Okay. Now we're down to, well, we're going to go to public comment, right?
I don't have any red cards. Oh.
There's one out
We
there.
need one turned in.
Executive Director Mims. There's one, there's two.
Okay, well then I will read while she's collecting.
Okay.
As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Thank you, Executive Director Rutledge. Ms. Betty Maddox Battle. Come on up, Ms. Battle.
Good morning, Commissioners,
Good
Chairman.
morning.
My name is
Good
Betty
afternoon.
Maddox Battle, and I am the founder of a homicide support group, grieving relatives in every violent event. I
Ms.
stand
Battle, could
before
you
you.
move your, because I can barely hear you. Yeah.
I stand before
Thank you.
you today, as I always have for years. And what it is, I am asking for your support, as I have always asked. I am in the process of getting Congressman Hank Johnson to introduce a piece of legislation that will notify the schools of any shootings participants or anybody that has participated in any type of gun violence activity. We pay now or we pay later. It's incumbent upon us as citizens and as mothers, as just the humanity of what is going on in the community. What happened at Appalachia School was preventable. So we don't want it to happen here in Rockdale. I got a call while I was out of town last week, what happened at Edwards Middle School. It was unacceptable. We must hold people accountable. And as a grieving mother who's lost a son, I will stand before you, the administration that has been supportive, and I will stand before the next administration that's coming in reference to doing something to prevention. Prevention is the key. So we have to prevent these things from happening. Mental illness on the line is running rampant now, and everybody have a mental health day. I know I do. You know, so there's a difference between mental illness and mental health. So we've got to do something now. It's incumbent upon us to do so. Secondly, we as grieving relatives have a 10-point plan, which is a science-based program. And I have stood before you all time after time and asked for your support. I would like to meet with somebody to introduce this 10-point plan to you. And what it does, it addresses violence as a public health issue. Gun violence is the leading cause, according to the, Attorney General in this, in today's society. We've got to stop working in silos and start working collectively. And we got to do that with compassion, collaboration, and consistency. So I'm asking for your support, commissioners and chairman, in reference to getting in touch with me to support. If you'll call me, I can be reached. Can I give the number out?
Go ahead with your number, Ms. Battle.
470-885-9524. Or you may email me at grieve_families@epb.org. in support of this legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much for always allowing me to speak.
Ms. Battle, before you take your seat, let me just one extra moment I'm going to give you here. First of all, we commend you for championing this call. You've done this for many, many years, and I know the story behind as to the reason why. A couple of things. I want to encourage you to make your way, if you haven't, to our local school system. They have the monthly Board of Education meeting. I think some of the things that you certainly pointed out, they need to hear as well. When you talk about support, can you specifically say what type of support you're actually asking?
Yes, sir. Let me see here real quick. This 10-point plan, number one, establish a Georgia Office of Violence Prevention in accordance with the White House Office of Gun Violence and Prevention Guidelines. Number two, allocate violence prevention funds in local budgets. Number three, convene champions of peace, violence prevention advisory council. Number four, develop a multi-county metropolitan Atlanta violence prevention plan. Number five, mobilize faith leaders to support the violence prevention movement. Number six, collaborate with institutions of higher education. Hold the media and entertainment industries accountable. Seek support from philanthropists and corporate community. Number nine, establish a system of support of community violence intervention and prevention wraparound organization. And last but certainly not least, implement violence prevention strategies in the metropolitan Atlanta and Rockdale County here. Last but not least, let me say this real quick. The school board has a responsibility. The school board is afraid of the community and the parents and the grandparents. They're afraid of the parents and the community, but the teachers in there got a responsibility to protect your children and your grandchildren. And secondly, the parents are afraid of the children, and the children not afraid of anybody. Thank you.
The reason I asked Ms. Battle for you to be very specific, and I appreciate you reading off those 10 items. As you were reading those, I was thinking about several entities I want to encourage you to reach out to. I already know that our local DA's office has an aggressive preventive program, as well as the sheriff's office. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to reach out to them. Whereas the school system is focused on educating our young people, safety is the #1 priority for both the staff, faculty, and all of our students collectively. In this world that we live in, security is a top priority if you go on any school campus. So they have a budget allocated towards security and safety as well. The Atlanta Regional Commission is an area that you need to talk about, or you need to reach out to, and then you also talked about a regional collective thing from all of the counties. I think you should consider finding a champion at the governor's office because they have allocated personnel that will help you with that as well. We hear you loud and clear. I think it's important that if you haven't already, and I know you move throughout the region, but make sure you take to those other platforms as well here in our area. So thank you and keep up the good work. Next up, Mr. George Kellercheck. Mr. Kellercheck, come on up.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, citizens of Rockdale County. Bring before you this morning some awareness and some educational materials. Number one in your packet is the 2024 Agribusiness Snapshot. To show you everything regarding our #1 industry in the state of Georgia, which contributed over $74 billion into our economy in 2023. Next First picture is deforestation and complete clear cutting of a development on Johnson Road. All of this information that you have in your packet was shared with the City Council the other night. Number 2 is when deforestation occurs, much of your carbon stored in the trees is released back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, not oxygen, which contributes to climate change. Number 2 in your packet is a comprehensive land use assessment that DeKalb County completed with the leadership of Commissioner Ted Terry and all the commissioners there, developed by Greg Ramsey from villagehabitat.com, Farmer D, Jaron Jaffe, and also Kimberly Horn, which is the leader in environmental design in the world. I would ask you to read through this because you will find information in here regarding this comprehensive plan, which reduces lawsuits. It also reduces special use permits and also all the amendments that you're having to approve all the time. We need a complete paradigm shift, not only in this county, but all 159 counties. This information has also been shared with the ACCG and the GMA. They want us to do 20-minute presentations. We've also been provided with 5 counties that want us to come in and do a complete 20-minute presentation. I would ask this county to afford and approve this item for a future agenda. Remember, in 2023, we had 24 days of over 100 degrees. In 2053, we're going to have over 43 days. That's a 55% increase.
What year?
2023.
And what year?
We had 24 days over 100 degrees. In 2053, 30 years from now, we're looking at 43 days.
Okay.
So looking at this gold standard as a playbook, we're going to have to look at, is it planning and development or planning and sustainability? So the paradigm shift needs to be where we, like DeKalb County, takes to the developers what they want to see, not the developers coming to us and saying what they want. So I will leave you with this information. In here is community arts and entertainment, which was addressed in your upcoming 25-29 plan. So you'll see a lot of the pieces that everyone wants to have is in this comprehensive land use plan. So we need to take a time out, just like Newton County is. I spoke with them last night, and let us look at what we're going to do. So I'll leave you with, take a look at Serenbe, East Lake Commons, Chattahoochee Hills, Honeywood Farms, Pendergrass Farms. Because if we don't start taking a look at what we're doing now and we continue to clear cut, our forest canopy is going to be gone, just plain and simple. So I'll leave you with all that information. November the 9th, Commissioner Ted Terry will be hosting on November the 9th a complete Environmental Justice Commission, which has been developed. I encourage you all to come out to that event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kalichek. Thank you, Ms. Battle. Thank both of you all for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. We're going to move right on into board comment. I'll start with Commissioner Washington.
Sure. Thank you. The last time we met, we did not take the opportunity to do a moment of silence for Appalachia High School, and since that is so close, I wanted to take the opportunity to do a moment of silence and keep those administrators, those parents, those children that were affected, those teachers, everybody in the community in our thoughts and prayers, because like I said, that was next door, and I would like to do that if you would
Let's
lead
take that moment of silence right now. Thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioner Washington, for bringing that up. I think as I watch, I think today or perhaps tomorrow, they are going back to school, and they're only on a half-day schedule, trying to get the young people and the staff and faculty acclimated to re-entering that building with such horrible memories. I could only imagine. We need to always keep our neighbors in our prayers. But even as Ms. Battle pointed out, sometimes we have incidents, things happening in our own backyard, and we're not exempt from these kinds of things. I think to be proactive is what we need to be as often as we can. And I think it's everybody's responsibility. It's not just one group. It's young people, parents, administrators, everybody, the community as a whole. It's everybody's responsibility. I got to say this real quick because you pushed the button. But what's interesting to me from the situation with Appalachian Hills is all of the hoax that have taken place across the state and across the country. This is nothing to play with. First of all, you're using county and city and state resources on somebody, on a prank, and you're putting people's lives at stake on a prank. So to the parents of the pranksters, get your child, because it's not funny. It is not funny. So I hope all the parents of the pranksters, and there's nothing wrong with a parent checking a book bag, him or herself. Check the book bag. In fact, if they live with you, go in the room and check the room. Absolutely. I've got 4 children. Not now 4 of them ever own a room in my house. Every room belongs to me and my wife. The toaster, the refrigerator, the microwave, the room, the clothes they wear belong to us. I check them then, I'll check them again. So check. Take some of those old school principles and values and traditions, go in there and check that book bag. Because I pray for my children. I've got 2 educators who are in my group of kids, and I pray that they go to school and go to work every day and not have to come home as a result of somebody shooting them or a baby getting killed. We pray for all our kids. But let me just tell you, I'm an old school parent, and thank God I don't have any kids in a school system now, because if I got that alert, the problem will be magnified, because I'm going to drive my vehicle all up down the school corridor to get in there to figure out how to take care of my child. Because when you mess with somebody's baby, you really causing a problem. I know somebody else wanted to say this, but I just said it. What I'm really saying is, let's be proactive. This pranksters, all this hoax, and all, that's not funny. And in fact, you violating the law. I think it's even a federal law, particularly if it's a prank against a school. You're going to get yourself a felony, and we're going to see how funny that is. I'll stop right there. I'll go back. Commissioner Walsh, you were in the middle of your board comments.
We can all go home now. No, I'm just kidding. My second comment and my last is happy belated birthday to Dr. Williams and her sister. Fun fact, Dr. Williams and her sister had the same birthday. And
They are
we know
not twins.
But they're not twins. They were about 3 years
Well, let's give her a round of applause.
It's all those September birthdays.
Yeah, and the chairman's is this weekend, correct?
This Thursday.
This Thursday, so happy birthday.
And happy birthday to you. Let's give Commissioner Washington. She's a September baby. Director Redmond, a September baby. Keep clapping. All them September babies. And Chief Sanders, a September baby. Chief Mack, CFL Arizona, September baby. Just keep clapping for the September babies. Absolutely. It was the Temptations that made a song the 3rd of September. It was the Earth, Wind, and Fire that made a song about September. Yeah, some September. Y'all give September another round of applause. Absolutely.
Anyway, that's all I have.
Commissioner Williams.
So first up is this Saturday evening at the J.P. Carr Community Center from 6 to 9 is the Year of the Peer, which is the culmination of Recovery Month. September is Recovery Month. This is a really fun, fancy affair to honor all those people in the accountability courts and those in recovery. It's just, some of them will tell their stories. Their stories are so motivating. And so September is National Recovery Month. So That is this Saturday. September is also Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And I believe we have a video for that.
September is National Suicide Prevention Month. Suicide is the third leading cause of death among 15 to 24-year-olds.
Do you feel hopeless?
Suicide does not discriminate.
If you or someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
No judgment, just help.
You matter.
Reach out to a mental health professional.
Your life matters.
Thank you so much to Public Relations for putting that video together, especially using the youth. And you heard her say that death by suicide is the third leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds. And they won't always tell you, and you may not always see the signs, but it's good to talk about it. And in relationship with that, the 988 is the mental health crisis line. It's a suicide crisis line, it's a mental health crisis line, just like 911 for a physical health problem. 988 can be called for a mental health problem. So make sure that you are aware of that. The Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 988. It was rolled out 2 years ago, and it's slowly getting traction. People are finally, slowly though, getting to understand that there's a number you can call. The third thing is the NACO Arts and Culture Commission. I've been attending their meetings, I think, since I started attending NACO, and I finally decided to see if I could be part of that commission. So this year I am part of the Arts and Culture Commission, and we had our first meeting last week. And a couple of things I just wanted to mention. One, they did a big promote the vote art campaign, and I can't. This was in Montgomery County, Maryland, and they put them in the schools and they put them in the community and all around, and they did a big thing with promote the vote. The other thing is that and this, I think this may have still been Montgomery County, Maryland. Someone granted their arts council some money. And what they do is they re-grant those funds to artists to get them started. Sometimes $5,000 or $10,000 can make a big difference in somebody being able to actually get on the ground or get the assistance they need for a website or whatever it is. And the last thing is that, you know how the Congress has a congressional baseball game? Well, this year they started a congressional talent show. And Jay Dick, who works with Americans for the Arts, said it was really phenomenal to see the talent of some of our congressmen. So those are my comments.
All right.
Can I add one?
Absolutely. Go right ahead, Commissioner.
September is also National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And last year we recognized Sergeant Archie Collins because he was a childhood cancer survivor. This was given to me by Chief Mack, so I just wanted for us to keep the children that are being afflicted by cancer in our thoughts and prayers also, as September is that awareness month.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you, Chief Mack. I want to bring up Deputy Director Jameson. He's got some updates he's going to share with us concerning RWR, the customer service, and some of the things they're doing as a whole over there. Deputy Director Jameson.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So we're doing, there's a national initiative by the EPA to check on our lead and copper pipes within Rockdale County and all across the nation. And so we wanted our citizens to know that coming up, Rockdale Water Resources will be having a bill insert. And that bill insert, it'll give them more information about those rules as we come down the line. Now, this is really a public service announcement. We believe for the vast majority of our pipes, well, we know on our side, are not lead. They don't have any lead in them, but there are a few based on our GIS system and the information that we have that we will be checking the public right away and on the private side to ensure that this great water we're producing at the water treatment plant is actually ending up or going into their service lines and coming out of their faucets the right way. And so more people will get them that will be impacted, but we wanted to make sure that all of our citizens knew that Rockdale Water Resources, we were coming, and that we were coming to ensure not just on the county side, but on their private side. And then we'll work with the EPA on how to address that moving forward to ensure that our pipes are lead-free.
So there will be an insert coming out pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
In the billing statement.
Start this week.
Start this week.
They're starting this week.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Deputy Director Jameson, thank you. Keep up the good work. All right. I want to bring up Director Redmond. I think we're about to close out the summer concert series, and he's got some particular information with this last one he wants to share with you, Director Redmond.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir, Chairman. We are prepared for our final summer concert series for 2024. This Sunday, we will have the Corey Brown Band. Parking is $5 per car. Just want to remind everyone that is per car, not per individual. The doors will open, or the gates will open to the concert at 3:30. Parking is located off 2599 Salem Church Road or 2455 Costly Mill Road. Please bring your lawn chairs and enjoy the vendors on site. Also, I want to announce our trunk or treat that is coming. It is about that time. We're almost wrapped up with September, and October will be here shortly. So Friday, October 25th.
We got a little bit of September left now. Just
we got a little
careful.
bit. We got a little bit left.
Take it easy.
I don't want to rush it.
Just a week.
But they get excited about the candy. So Friday, October 25th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The address is 911 Chambers Drive, Conyers, Georgia 30012. There will also be a costume contest. That's exciting. It is free entry to the public. There will be face painting, pumpkin decorating, a haunted hayride with food trucks as well. Please bring your own treat bag. And for more information, you may call 770-278-8109 or 770-278-7209. And I do want to highlight that this activity or this event is a collective partnership between Stormwater, Rockdale Water Resources, Parks and Recreation, Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, and Rockdale Fire Rescue.
All right. Very good. A lot of folks partnering together on this.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes, so
good. Very good.
Big bang for your buck for this one. And the last one, PR does not have a flyer for this yet because we just finalized everything. Our Autumn Festival, and I'll get up and announce this again prior to the event taking place, will be November 17th, 2024, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 1400 Parker Road. That is Wheeler Park. We will have a car show there. There will be music, fun, games, and food vendors. So again, I will announce this as the time gets closer to that event.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Redmond. Director Simpkins, come on up and tell us what's happening over in Lakeview Estate, Sunrise. You've had some finished work over there that you've successfully completed. I think the folks need to hear about it.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Yes, we did wrap that project up. It was a major undertaking on the part of stormwater management and transportation to where the two major roadways that enter the rear of that development were repaired. We had some stormwater rehabilitation work that was completed and also some roadway rehabilitation work that was completed. Also taking into account some of the citizen concerns with the speed that citizens were traveling on those two rear entrances, we also installed some traffic calming devices, which will help with the speed in that
They're so
area.
excited to come in and come out now, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We're ready. One other additional note, with the incoming weather we're expecting, we do have all stormwater forces on the ground and preparing a lot of the low-lying areas to ensure that all stormwater infrastructure is clear and able to handle whatever stormwater runoff we get.
Thank you, Director. I really appreciate that last piece too, because oftentimes when the inclement weather comes to Rockdale County, we get inundated with calls as if it's not raining anywhere in the world but other than Rockdale County. We are prepared. All of our utilities are on alert and aware. The fire department, the sheriff's office, EMA, code enforcement, everybody, RDOT, everybody is on alert. We have crews who are ready to respond, and they are proactively prepared in the event of inclement weather. You know, as we're watching the news from the meteorologists, our emergency management agency is governing and sending us out information repeatedly so that we can be prepared as a county to respond to citizens' need to keep the county open. During those times, the biggest thing that we ask is, folks, if you don't have to be on the road, don't be on the road. But thank you for reminding me of that. The last thing I have in my comments this morning, back on September the 8th, I had the pleasure, and this is a big deal. I want to make sure I point it out, and because when this happens throughout our county, and it happens occasionally, we've got some residents that's been with us a long time. I had the pleasure of awarding Miss Annie L. Gilstrap a proclamation from Rockdale County as she celebrated 100 years of life. Y'all give Miss Gilstrap a round of applause. Absolutely. And she, I must say, commissioners, that she is full of life. Absolutely. She lives in the city of Conyers. She's been a long-time resident here in Rockdale County. She's full of energy at 100 years old. And let me just tell you, she looks good for 100 years old. She don't look like she's 100. So I just wanted to highlight Miss Annie L. Gilstrap. Also want to say thank you to Miss Karen Johnson, who works over in our tax commissioner's office. Miss Gilstrap is Miss Johnson's aunt. Miss Johnson was the one that alerted me of the 100-year celebration of Miss Gilstrap. So also to Miss Karen Johnson, thank you. And if any of our citizens or folks in our community, if you know about folks age 80 and above, that's a big, big deal. Make sure you let us know, and our public relations department would be glad to spotlight and highlight them on their achievement and longevity of life and contribution to our community. But Miss Annie L. Gilstrap turned 100 years old. We got a lot of things going on here in Rockdale County. Thank you to all of our presentations. Again, a big shout out to all of our nominees for the Employee of the Year, and to Cody for being elected by his peers as the Employee of the Year. Executive Director Rutledge, as we bring this year to a fast close, there's some dates and things that we need to remember. We've got to close out with a balanced budget this year. We got a lot of things happening. Is there anything we need to know?
The first thing we have tonight is a zoning public hearing. We'll be right back in this meeting room tonight at 6 o'clock. I just wanted to announce that. Normally they're on Thursday nights, but we have advertised and moved it to tonight at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So yes, as we get into the budget season, I'll go over that real quick. On October 15th at 6 o'clock, we'll have the budget public hearing. And then you will see the first reading of the appropriations ordinance on November the 12th at 10 a.m. And the second reading and final adoption of the appropriations ordinance on December the 10th. at
All
10
right.
a.m.
Very good. Chief Sanders, anything from your office?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
As I wrap up, once again, I want to say, folks, please pardon our progress. The old tax commissioner's building is coming down, is being demolished. If it's not already down by now, it's almost 1 o'clock. But as we continue to move and grow, I want to just say to you all, pardon our progress. As I said earlier, no pain, no gain. So you may be inconvenienced for a little bit, but the long-term product, the results of the long-term product will be well worth the wait as we continue to move forward. Executive Director Relish, is there any need for executive session this afternoon?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned. Happy Tuesday.